There we go. That's better. I had to fix my microphone settings there. My bad. Welcome to episode 7 of Around the Saloon. We are nearing double digits. Exciting stuff here. 7 exactly. Thank you, Donde, and thank you for the subscription, Donde. We very much appreciate it. Um, give yourself your own clap. Okay, yes, we do have a great cast tonight. We have Donde up in my top left, RonMexico, basedinc showing up for the first time, and then MartyB making his long-awaited return. He's been off the show for a little bit, which is kind of my fault. But anyways, we've had some tough shoes to fill with Brushy taking the leave, so hopefully Base can step up here. Base, those are the shoes you're filling. I didn't say it before the show, but you are now in Brushy's shoes. So good luck. Let's start off welcoming Donde. And as you can see, we don't have any crowns here tonight. There's no crowns on top of anyone's heads because Brushy was our last winner, and he is not going to be here for the rest of the year. So no one is going to be retaining tonight. We have fresh faces when it comes to eventual winners. So Donde, you are first up. How are you doing tonight?
I am great. I am happy to be here. Hopefully, this goes better than it's gone for me in the past. But it's episode 7. Tom Brady just won his 7th championship, so I feel like the synergy is there for me this evening.
I thought we literally just before the show started talked about how horrible of a person he was. And you're just gonna lean right into it, aren't you?
I was just stating facts. There was
Yeah?
nothing about
Okay. Sure.
nothing about him as a person.
Okay.
Just the fact that he's fantastic
Sure.
at football.
I will not argue that. He can throw a ball. RonMexico. Oh, cams are a little weird. I was about to unmute Marty and leave Ron talking to the winds. RonMexico, you are next up. You, I think, may be our most frequented guest on the show. Um, you're the first person to show up 2 weeks in a row without winning. So, but that's kind of not your plan. You were the backup tonight. Sickleys was supposed to be on, but Texas got hit with a winter storm, and they don't know what to do about that. So he didn't get his power for a while, and so Ron is stepping up. Ron, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Look, I tried to have someone else fill in, but sometimes you just got back to RonMexico. That's 5 times now I've been on this show out of 7 shows. I'm thinking about
Is it
taking up
really?
shop here too. You could call me Ronnie Monday and Tuesday.
Is this number
Looking
5?
to get another win. Yeah, it's 5 out of 7. I was like, look, man, maybe you should get someone else. And then you got
I tried.
Isocles. Then Isocles is like, hey, Texas got hit with snow. We don't know what to do. Get Ron.
Yep.
It's like, all right, sure.
I think actually, yeah. So I tried multiple people actually before it got to you. You were the last resort, and it came to you. Well, you weren't the last. I have a couple people, other people I could have asked, but
just
it got
call
to
me
you.
Papa Roach.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that, but I couldn't resist it.
It's okay. It's okay. Let's go to MartyB next. We'll save Base for last since she is new to the show. MartyB, how are you doing tonight?
I am pretty good. So as you can see, I'm in a different location. I am actually in the States again. Some things were going on.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. So some things went on. Pandemic meant government shutdown, which meant documents could not be processed, which means there's no way for me to stay legally in Europe, apparently, which kind of sucked.
I was
But,
about to ask. I didn't remember where you were at previously.
Yeah. So until the pandemic goes over, I can't really get the documents. But until then,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be able to go back home. So
Awesome. Well, glad to have you back in the States, although I feel like if I were you, I wouldn't want to be back here. And last but not least, Based Inc. And as someone in chat said, you can't spell budget tunas without Based. It was CMAC. Based, how are you doing tonight?
How are you going to do me like this? Put me in tuna shoes? How am I supposed to fill tuna shoes? What's wrong with you, man?
Oh, well, I I know it kind of came out of nowhere, but I thought it'd be fun. So
I'm kidding. I love you.
you're doing the tuning job tonight. Sorry. Toxic C-Mac indeed. Anyways, we have a loaded show for you, not only with our cast, but also with our questions. We have some handwritten questions from Itachi for our battleground section because my battlegrounds person is now overseas. We have some core sets and BlizzCon predictions, and then of course we also have our THL questions at that. So let's get right into it. Sorry, Saku. Yes, corsets. I said corsets, not corsets, but it's okay. Wherever you want it, bud. Thank you, Saku. Although we can't really tip Bob, there's no Bob here to tip. You could tip me though. Let me get the some things switched around here, and then we will get going with our Mulligan question. So we're gonna start things off with back-to-back-to-back battlegrounds questions. So my thought process tonight was let's try something a little different. Let's just section all of our questions instead of throwing them out randomly throughout our different phases. So we're gonna start off with 3 battlegrounds questions, one after the other. We're gonna hit you right there with the BGs. And we're going to start off with Khadgar. So Khadgar recently saw a nerf or a change. I don't know how you would personally classify this. We'll let Donde classify that since he's going to start off for us. And I'm going to start off with the question for you, starting with Donde, and we'll go clockwise. Donde, what do you think of the proposed change to Khadgar token interactions?
It's fun that you start with me as probably the least experienced battleground player on the panel here.
Correct.
I mean, it seems like it's not been much of a problem at the lower ranks where I reside, which is right around 3K on NA. So to me, it seems pretty minimally impactful. Though from what I've read, it's a great change to make the meta feel less oppressive when it comes to the Khadgar triples. But my personal experience with it is it's not really that much of an impact on me, but yeah, I mean, I'm all for things that shake up the meta if there's something that's kind of just sticking around and being a pain. I think the interaction is probably bad for the format as a whole. So just since you didn't specify exactly what it was here,
I was about to say, why don't you tell us that?
You can only get 1 triple per time with Khadgar and Bran. So you first summon all the tokens, then it makes them triples, rather than before where it would, just go ham because Bran doubles your battle cry, obviously. So that is what it does. But like I said, I haven't seen too much of that. Maybe it's just because the players like me aren't that good and can't pull it off consistently.
Yeah, that would make sense. Ron, what are your thoughts?
Hey, I'm here for it, man. I could never pull that stuff off. I'm terrible at this. So I like how it just kind of evens the playing field for the players who are worse. Khadgar was cheap. You buy Khadgar, you just start buying tokens like crazy and start getting crazy triples, and then you just power spike to like this point that nobody can match. And now with them changing Khadgar to be less busted, it just makes the rest of us able to keep up a little bit more. And I think that's what Battlegrounds needs, just kind of even things out for the little guy and get that Khadgar out of here. He's had his time in the sun. It's time to go. Khadgar's trash now. Move on.
Khadgar's trash. Okay. Marty, what do you think? What do you think? Do you think Khadgar is trash now?
Yeah, so I'm with Ron on this. Khadgar used to be Chadgar. Now he's more of a virgin, I think. Very unfortunate.
I didn't think you
No,
could
I'm
reverse
kidding.
that.
Look, I don't know, man. Whatever they did to Khadgar and Bran interactions, it killed the card. That archetype is pretty much dead in the water, especially at higher levels of play. Now you're forced to go for other builds, and yes, it's a healthier meta because now you don't have to use any exploits to keep up. But it does suck to see, a powerful card that's kind of unique getting pretty much gimped because of such a dangerous interaction.
Okay. Base, do you have any different thoughts from the crowd here, or are you kind of online with everyone else?
I have the same thought. Khadgar's trash now, but this is a terrible, terrible change.
Oh,
Like
okay. Elaborate.
the issue was the forced disconnect, right? And so this is their workaround. The only time you really needed it was with the CADGAR transitions, and so to discourage people from disconnecting, they're changing CADGAR instead of changing like the disconnects. Like you should be able to skip battlegrounds animations because you just don't have time enough for turns sometimes. Like it's just a problem with the mode that they are not solving by doing this. It's taking away a huge skill test in the game. Like I don't see the point in it. It's a transition that is hard to pull off, and you need practice and skill to do it, and that's something I want in this game.
That's fair. That's a good point. Yes, Donde.
So just on that point, the interaction forcing the disconnects. I mean, we've had other problems like that, like in standard or any format, I guess, with Nozdormu, skipping turns and things like that. It's just, I think it's a lot more to do with the client not being able to handle certain things, and they just can't clean it up to the point where it's fixable. I think so. I don't think it's them like working around it per se. I think it's just literally their only option, without reworking the code from the ground up. Which, of course, I do not know exactly what they've done, and nor am I a coder. But from everything they've said, it's really, really much more difficult to rework the entire thing than it is to just add or subtract bits and pieces without breaking everything.
Mm-hmm. Hey, maybe we'll see Hearthstone 2.0 here at BlizzCon this weekend. All right, let's move on to our second Battlegrounds question of the night of 3, which is a little atypical, I just realized. Usually I hold off the 3 BG's questions for when we have Brushy and Steffi, or I guess now it'll be Based and Steffi on the show, but oh well. Let's move on. Let's talk about hero powers. Battlegrounds hero powers to be specific, not standard hero powers, because standard hero powers don't ever change. Have we ever seen, this is off topic, have we ever seen a nerf to a standard hero power?
Beta.
Just in
Rogue
beta, way
too.
back in beta?
Weapon. Yeah.
Also, the devs mentioned that they're looking at some of the hero powers, particularly shamans, for the upcoming rotation. They're considering possibly making changes, maybe. I doubt they do it, but I think during one of his AMAs, he did mention that they look at that stuff.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there you have it. I'm sure we'll hear more at BlizzCon if something like that's going to happen, because we are supposed to see the whole core set, I think, right after BlizzCon from when they released that last post. Anyways, let's talk hero power. So I want to go in reverse order from what we just did, starting with Base. So Base, talking Battlegrounds hero powers, what are some hero powers that you think need a bump or a nerf?
Man, I didn't think to pull up a list, and I have to go first.
Oof.
I would like to see some more early game hero powers take off. We don't really have a lot of those. I'm trying to think of a good example, but I'd like to see something that kind of encourages stats in the mid game and can really punish those early tavern ups. I think that is what's missing from the hero powers right now, is we don't have early game heroes that punish you for taverning up too quickly, and it's just become a get to 5 and spike a comp immediately. Like that's the whole game mode right now, and that needs to change, and something needs to come back that's aggressive.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good thing there aren't that many Battlegrounds heroes, right? You could just sort of think of all of them off the top of your head.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pull up a list right now.
There's like
I might
5 or 6 of them.
I may be able to get you
Something
one
like
or
that.
two later.
Okay, MartyB, what are your thoughts here? What kind of hero powers
All
need
right.
to see a buff or a nerf?
So I'm going to go into game design a little bit. I actually think that there are certain hero powers that are a bit lazy in design, where they're focused mainly on certain tribes. So things like patches or Flurgle Fungalmancer, where you're forced into a certain build, and depending on the lobby, that hero power can be useless, or it can be one of the strongest things out there. And there's just an inherent RNG to it that kind of shoehorns you into a spot, and players are forced to like play the game a certain way, which kind of sucks because other heroes with more flexibility tend to do a little bit better and not be so wildly what's the word, inconsistent, I guess. And it just feels lazy because you want to be able to utilize a hero power without being shoehorned into one single thing. So I really want to see them kind of take a step away from that if possible and design hero powers that might encourage a certain build, but you can still go in another direction as well and not get punished so hard for not hard picking certain tribes.
Gotcha. Yeah, great points. Ron, do you have any disagreements there? Maybe some specific ones that you think?
I mean, I have to keep calling for the Alakir nerf. Alakir is ridiculous. That minion, or that Battlegrounds hero, just like getting Divine Shield, Wind Fury, and Taunt on a minion, it makes it so busted and has been busted from the very beginning. We talked about it on a previous Around the Saloon, anticipating a nerf, and they still haven't nerfed it, and I feel like they really need to. When someone of my skill level can just win more games than not just by picking Alakir, I think it's wrong. Like, the minion itself has problems, but before I go too much on Alakir, I want to talk about a buff too, because I love bananas, and I think King Mukla needs to be stronger. The hero power says get 2 bananas and everyone else gets 1. That's great. Everyone else can have a banana. That's what we like. But not 2 regular bananas. Let's get 2 big bananas. Let's go nuts. I know it says like you got a 20% chance to get a big banana. No. We get 2 big banana, or at least 1 big banana, 1 regular banana. Just let's make Mukla stronger. I'm here for that. I like bananas. Let's do it.
You really like bananas. Donde, do you like bananas as much as Ron likes bananas?
Definitely not as much as Ron likes bananas, though I do find myself saying "ooh, a banana" every time I play against a Mukla, and all of a sudden it pops in my hand in the buy phase. So that is
I
that is
get
always
so
a nice
mad when
feeling.
they don't press that button.
Oh, I know. It's just you're the worst Mukla when you do that. I will say I'll start with what I think should deserve a buff, which I might not say the name correctly, but that's okay. But Lich Bazial, I don't know.
We
The
forgive
dude
you.
who you take damage when when you hit your power and you get a coin. Like the hell is that? That's gross. That's just not useful very much at all. I mean, you can use that a limited amount of times over the course of the game, and you're just speeding yourself towards death. Odds are you're probably, if you use it 4 or 5 times in a game, you're going to be taking a complete round of combat off the table for yourself, which is just silly. It's just not impactful enough. It definitely needs a buff. And I will say, Ron, I completely agree with you on Alakir. That was going to be my point for a nerf, but you said everything that I want to say about that. It's just a stupid, broken ability, and I think it's long overdue for a nerf.
Alrighty. Well, we will move away from the bananas, I believe, unless Ron can find a way to tie bananas into this final BG's question. I have
I'll
faith.
do my best.
All right. Let's start with MartyB here. Let's talk mechs and specifically Junkbot. So our final BG's question says the following. MartyB, you are first up. Do you think Junkbot to 4 will make mechs a lot better or even competitive?
Can we get a drum roll?
I don't know if you could hear that. I tried drum rolling.
You ready?
Yes, I've been ready. Go for it.
No.
Okay. Wow. That was
No.
that was
Junkbot tier 4.
Amazing.
Like, mechs have so many other issues right now in the meta, and making Junkbot a tier 4 minion doesn't fix all those problems. Okay? And they're probably going to have to introduce new minions back into the pool to make mechs competitive and viable, because really no one has any reason to go mechs. Everyone else kind of does the same thing mechs do, but better for the most part, or at least one thing that mechs do. And because of that, if you're stuck with mechs, you're in for a bad time, and you're lucky if you're even getting in top 4, in my opinion. So the Junkbot change will not change that. +2/+2 on a single minion is not going to make or break a comp. And Junkbot is not on the level of, say, Khadgar or some of the dragon builds or elemental builds that we saw when those comps were dominant. So no, I can't see Junkbot changing anything at all.
Alrighty. Donde.
I know we're not in face or trade yet, but I
You're
definitely
not.
will also trade on this.
This
Junkbot to 4
originally
does not.
was a face or trade question until I decided to put
It
all
ha-
the BG's questions up front.
yeah, it did have the hallmarks of a face or
It
trade
did.
question, but yeah, I definitely don't think it's going to make mechs a lot better. I mean, I guess maybe slightly, but at the same time, I don't see people gravitating towards Junkbot as the end all to their comp. Um, it's not a great situation for mechs, I guess, at this point. But like Deflectobot is decent, and you can get rolling a little bit with it, and I think that will carry you a little ways to a decent finish. But I mean, overall, Junkbot is not doing mechs any favors, and mechs as a whole just pretty weak right now.
Alrighty. Ron?
I mean, yeah, it's not gonna happen. Like mechs are not gonna be that much better. Junkbot is like a slightly better, slightly different scavenging hyena, but for mechs, and scavenging hyena is also kind of just garbage for beasts. Like you'll get a little bit better, sure. Also, you're wondering how we work bananas into this. All right, I'll tell you when mechs are viable.
All
We
right.
play Mukla, right? We play Mukla. Mukla gets buffed. We get the big bananas. We stick those big bananas on our Divine Shield mechs. We start wrecking people. No, but seriously, the only mechs that are good are mechs that are also every other minion type because they're Amalgadons, and Amalgadons are amazing. That's why you want mechs. You want mechs to get another adapt on your Amalgadon, and then you sell that mech. Mechs are trash. They've always been trash. Let's just forget and move on to other tribes that actually win, like dragons. And I mean, come on, Murlocs. We always force Murlocs.
All right. Based, do you think that mechs will be our bananas now with the junk bot change?
No, they're still the exact same thing. They're a mid-game comp that you have to transition out of if you want to make top four. You know, like the three is really where mechs are solid. You know, you have replicating menace and you have the 3/2 divine shield, but it's still just going to you're going to have to transition out because you need something that self scales. That's what mechs miss. They have nothing to just continually buff themselves. Like, what are you going to cycle? Screw giant clunkers and give things +2/+2, give things more attack and just let them die anyways. Like, you need something that's going to make it so mechs continually get better as the game goes on. Otherwise, they just can't compete with dragons and elementals.
Gotcha. So they're not gonna be bananas.
No, they will be banana peels.
Oh, point. Okay. Let's get out of BGs and let's move on to standard. And honestly, this is the part of tonight that I've been most looking forward to, because we have BlizzCon coming up this weekend, and with BlizzCon is going to be bringing um, more core set details, potentially an announcement of the next expansion, potentially new game mode announcement. So the next 5 questions are going to deal with standard, and also with BlizzCon and the core set and everything that's upcoming in Hearthstone, everything that's supposed to come in the next year or so potentially. We're doing a bit of predictions tonight because we don't have much news yet. We're gonna be looking at that for the weekend. Next Monday is gonna all be core set and news themed, so you don't expect much BG's questions unless we see some BG's announcements, which we're probably gonna see. I'm excited for next week personally. Anyways, I'm done talking. Let's talk about THL show, not talking THL. Diamond, I told you at the beginning of the show, I've segmented the questions tonight. All of the dual round questions are THL questions, even your question from earlier. So you're gonna have to just sit here and wait for those THL ones till we get to our final 2. But last question in the Mulligan phase, and then we're going to be moving on to face or trade. Our last question is going to talk Darkmoon Races and a bit of reflection. So Darkmoon Races has been pretty successful and well received amongst the Hearthstone community. So I want to ask all of you, and we'll start with Base. Base hasn't gone first yet. Nope, that's a lie. She did go first. Who hasn't gone first? Ron hasn't gone first. Let's start with Ron.
I haven't gone first yet.
Yeah, I just said that. Ron's gonna go first here. Ron, I want to ask you the question of what kind of standard does the Dark Moon Races set for future mini sets?
Ooh, nice. So Dark Moon Races was very interesting in like how much it shook up the meta while at the same time not being so like over the top to completely warp it. Um, it did maybe a little bit too much because of one specific card, which is Nitro Boost. But that's fine. It happened. It's fine. Like the rest of the set was pretty interesting, and it didn't like push things off the rails. And I think that's kind of what we're going to be seeing in the future. Is Blizzard likes to have that lull kind of occupied by something other than just people complaining or asking for nerfs or buffs or something. The introduction of a smallish amount of cards, and it was really cool how they did it, where you could get the entire set for kind of a minimal cost. I think that's something they will probably try to repeat. It got a pretty good reception because of that, and it got a pretty good reception because nothing was overly broken to the point that people were really upset about what got introduced in the set, but it changed things enough to where we have kind of more interesting and different play patterns. So I think they did a good job with it overall, despite my my dislike for Nitro Boost. And I think we're going to be seeing something like that continue in the future. They'll try to repeat this style of mini set.
Okay, Base, what are your thoughts? What kind of standard does this basically the first mini set? I know we had Galakrond's Awakening, but I don't know if they're classifying that as a mini set. Um, it was also 35 cards though. Anyways, what do you think, Base?
Yeah, I think that Galakrond's Awakening was definitely a mini set, or those Descended Dragons.
I mean, it feels like it, right? Though I don't know if they classify it as a mini set.
Yeah, it's effectively an adventure, which is what
Yeah,
these are the same size as.
yeah.
And they kind of, I mean, one had Risky Skipper, so that was completely warping. And so I
Yes.
think we can expect it to not be as warping. And if it is, probably see a nerf unless the entire class is built around Risky Skipper. Um, but I think that we'll expect to see that, and then we'll also expect to see the same price point where you can get it pretty cheap to get the entire set guaranteed. But I think we can expect good things. I do think that we can also expect this amount of power at the end of these standard rotations, especially after we get a full year of six expansions essentially. Like we're going to be on wild levels of power almost. Not really, because wild will have jumped way past that, but it's going to be very powerful.
Okay. I mean, we could be on wild levels of power. We don't know what the core set's gonna look like yet. Yeah, Donde.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the basic sentiments here. I think Dark Moon or the races specifically as a mini set is a good thing for Hearthstone. The availability of it, the fact that it injects new life into the meta is fantastic, and it should be easier to acquire either not necessarily a full set in one go, but just like most of the cards, so that you're viable from day one and can start experimenting from day one. And I think that's another key thing. It allowed people to experiment because there was no pre-release, no info really ahead of time about no theory crafting streams. So it really let everybody be on an even playing field from day one, which was great. That being said, I don't like where it took the meta. That's not an indictment necessarily of the type of release, though. I think what they did was great, and I think they should do it again like this. Just not have the meta be so high rolly. We've seen the rise of Ramp Paladin. We've seen like Penflinger Rogue, which is one of those decks that's just really hard to stop. If you don't have the right cards to combat early aggression, you can just die on turn 5, and that's not as much fun as I've had playing the deck. Not necessarily the healthiest thing, and I think in general the meta is less healthy than it was before the mini set came out. But the model they used is phenomenal.
Interesting. I personally disagree. I feel like some people are chat are saying I feel like it is healthier. But I actually do. I have a follow up question for you. Um,
Sure.
Ramp Paladin only has unless I'm not thinking of a card. Crab Rider is the only card included from the races. Am I wrong?
Off the top of my head, yes, because Circus Amalgam was in the original Dark Moon.
And that's not
Right.
that's not in all the list anyway.
But that was in the
Very
original
occasionally,
list.
I've seen like Libram of Get 'em.
Oh
in,
my god, that
Ramp
showed up
Paladin.
last night. Yeah, that showed up last night, and I was like, "This is a thing." Oh,
Armor
okay.
Vendor is optional. Yes. So
Yes.
okay. So that I wanna keep going with this then. Crab Rider being the only new card with Armor Vendor being optional, like Fish said. Do you think that Ramp Paladin? I mean, there were versions of a Ramp Paladin prior to the Darkmoon races, but the lists weren't the same as the ones that we see now. Do you think that this is a deck minus Crab Rider that would have been just fine, prior to races, or as strong prior to the races set?
Definitely not as strong because Crab Rider's so good, but I mean, it might be more of a product of the meta itself, and like there's an actual void where it sits now and is playable. I struggle to think of what it would have been like against the decks that were pre-races, and if it would have been able to carve out a spot. But I mean, if you look at the matchup charts, I know obviously stats don't mean everything, but in general, it's got a positive win rate against almost everything out there, and I think that's just makes like a deck of that type should not be as consistent as it is with how it can pull off the bonker stuff that it can.
Yeah. Alrighty. MartyB, last one up.
All right. Something people really haven't covered is how exactly it's affected the meta. Like, yeah, we do agree for the most part, besides Donde, who's wrong, that the meta has gotten for the better. But it sets like a precedent where people are going to expect a lot of like shakeups from these mini sets, which I don't think is going to happen very often. Like, this is a rarity. We're not even seeing shakeups just within standard as well. Wild is in one of the biggest shakeups I've ever seen in history. Like, the meta right now between High Legend and everywhere else is so vastly different that I don't even know what's going on, to be honest. And I've spoken to many people about it. It's just completely turned on its head. And we're kind of seeing the same in standard, where even a month after the mini set, in a time when the meta should be in the most mature spot at the end, right before rotation, we are still seeing new decks show up, which is unbelievable. So people are going to be expecting that as well in future expansions, and I think that's setting their expectations too high. I don't think that's going to happen every time. I do appreciate that they are exploring previous keywords and mechanics. I think that they should continue that, and they did suggest that they would continue that with these mini sets, which I'm happy about. I just hope that people can temper their expectations for these future mini sets and realize they're not always going to shake up the meta as much as we've seen.
Okay. Yeah. That was one of my worries, because the original question was the standard set too high, and I decided to change it, because I feel like it this being the first. I mean, it's not the first mini set they've ever done, but this being the first mini set on a consistent basis, like they have announced they're gonna do with every expansion, and this one was very successful. So that was my original question, which is kind of what you alluded to, was the standard set too high at the start? I mean, it's not a bad thing. I much appreciate it. It allows me to play Prime Gaming Warlock. Anyways, let's move
Nice.
on to Face or Trade. If you haven't played Prime Gaming Warlock, it is a blast and a half. MartyB currently in the lead with 10. Ron with 9, gaining himself an extra point for his Mick Hunter shout out in the chat. Base with 8 and Donde with 7. Let's move to Face or Trade, and let's start off with MartyB since he is in the lead. And let's talk core set, let's talk BlizzCon, let's talk everything coming up soon. Actually, all our Face or Trade questions are probably going to be answered within the next week or so. Well, except for one of them. But Marty, let's talk cards returning from Wild to Standard in the core set. I think we have, was it somewhere in the 80s region, if anyone wants to give me an exact number? Something like that, 50s maybe? I don't know if I'm overshooting or not. But we're
I think
probably
80-ish.
It was
Yeah.
something like that, right? But we're probably going to see
We're-
some returning legendaries. So face or trade, reminder for the chat. Face means that they agree. Trade means that they disagree. MartyB, we're going to see the Lich King return to the core set. In the
Trade.
core set. Trade?
Trade.
All
I
right.
have to
Why?
trade because Lich King is way too powerful for standard. People are going to be running that for at least the next year, in my opinion. The Lich King is an iconic card. It was part of an iconic set in Hearthstone's history, and it deserves to stay there. Okay, people are going to look at that fondly. But bringing the Lich King back is dangerous too. That card, you put that in just about any mid-range deck, really, today, and it's just a better Ragnaros too. Like it has taunt. So many decks right now would be running that. Ramp Paladin would be running it. Control Warrior would be running it. Highlander Priest, Highlander Druid. Like so many decks would want the Lich King, and putting it in the core set is very dangerous. And there are so many other cards too that they've mentioned. Like when they're looking for these cards in the core set, they want them to be supportive. Okay, they want them to support a bunch of different things with simple keywords, and the Lich King doesn't really fit that. So the Lich King is a value box. It offers tempo. It's defensive. It's a big value bomb in the late game. Okay, and it's kind of this kind of box that does everything, and it doesn't fit at all what Blizzard was suggesting would be in the core set. And between those two things, from the high power level and the fact that it doesn't really match their philosophy, I can't go face with this.
All right. Base. Face or trade.
I'm gonna say trade for almost the exact opposite reasons. Like I think that they want to use the core set for cards that would see play, and I do not think Lich King would see play. The removal that is in standard is going to be way too strong. Like Course is still in, Hysteria is still in, Prize Plunder is still in. Like it's so slow. It's Ysera on an 8/8. Like sure you get better cards off of it, but you're going to get one card that's going to get removed. I don't think that you can play 8 drops that don't impact the board or threaten to win the game. Like that is the only way you can play those level cards right now in Hearthstone.
That's fair. Good points, Ron.
As much as I love, also got a trade on this one. I don't think Lich King is going to be coming back in the core set, and I don't think it's quite for the same reason as either of you. I don't think it's too strong, and I don't think it's too weak. I think it honestly could be fine in some decks and too slow in most other decks. The way the meta's gotten, it probably wouldn't work unless you were some kind of control. There's probably always going to be room for a card like that in a control-y type deck, especially, like some kind of a control-y priest or warrior that is able to gain a lot of life. But the fact remains, I think Blizzard just doesn't really want to have this type of card that feels like the go-to 8-drop that's a neutral that could just be jammed in any class. So if there's a chance that it is actually good in the meta, then all of a sudden every deck runs it. It's the same reason they moved Azure Drake way back to Hall of Fame. It's the same reason they Hall of Famed Ragnaros when it was ubiquitous. It's just one of those cards that if it is good enough to see play in whatever meta it exists in, then it's going to see a ton of play, and games are going to feel maybe a little bit too similar, a little bit too narrow-minded on like deck building choices for the rest of the player base. And they've kind of established they don't really want to see that. They want to see more variety. So that, I think, is the main reason they wouldn't bring Lich King back. Regardless, he's not coming back to core.
All right, Donde.
Boy, you guys have touched on every possible angle for this this question and leaving me with pretty much nothing here. So let's spice it up. Let's go face. Because that's really the only option I got right now. Yeah, let's say okay. The core set, they want to be something iconic. They want it to be something that you look at, and they're going to rotate obviously and try to influence what cards should be played. But Lich King has, as mentioned, been one of the most iconic characters in Hearthstone, in World of Warcraft history. Like he is like the ultimate character, the ultimate villain. And it would be a cool thing to have. Yes, 1 point for my cat. Thank you to Sharma. It would be one of the coolest things to have as like an evergreen card, just because of how much flavor it does have. And as Marty pointed out, he's stealing every deck that could possibly play it. Yeah, like Res Priest, Big Warrior, like Commencement could draw it out. It would definitely see play there. Res Priest would love to bring it back. It did before, with Barnes and whatnot. So why wouldn't it do it now? It's definitely playable. It would definitely see a spot. We don't know exactly where it will end up when everything rotates, at the start of the new Hearthstone year. But I think it's definitely an iconic enough card to be considered for the core set, and it's not as overpowered that it would see play in every deck, but it would have its day and be impactful in certain spots. So I think it's the right type of card, better than something like Ziliax, where it just is too perfect, unity, precision, perfection, and all that. It's like in every deck. This is a card that I think would do well in the core set because it would see some play, but not be overpowered.
Okay. Wow. A lot of people going trade there. I thought we were going to see more faces. Anyways.
I got you, Boo.
Thank you. I want to talk about a couple of controversial cards. And the reason I want to talk about them is because they got moved from the Hall of Fame back to the Witchwood expansion because they were, put in the Hall of Fame for a while. So now, given the fact that Blizzard understands, the power level of these cards, and are able to think about what cards could possibly go into a core set with them in order to make them a little more balanced next time that they see play. I'm not talking about this upcoming core set, but Donde, I'll start with you. Face or trade, do you think we will ever see Gin and Baku make their way into a core set? Or, I should say or.
And or trade. You'll never see one without the other. That's for sure. That would just be silly.
You never know.
I don't know, but I would hazard a guess to say that thematically they would not do that. But no, it's not a great mechanic. Things like Keliseth, I was like trying to rack my brain on his name because I tried to put him out of my mind forever, but like it's just not a healthy thing. Like when your deck really relies on the drawing of a specific card, it's just not ideal, and that is really kind of the type of deck that those fostered. Even decks where I'll find odd rune for everyone. Yeah, that's not wrong. It's just not. I'm glad they experimented with it. It was cool that they tried it, but I don't think it's something that we should want to relive as a community.
Okay, understandable. Base, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to trade as well. I think that they realistically could put Gen in at some point if they want. But the thing is that even in odd decks are just too consistent. They do the same thing every game, and we're playing wizard poker. It's not meant to be consistent, right? Like you want to have variance in the games. You want to have to take risks. You want to have to make guesses. You don't want to just be able to hit hero power, get 2/1/1s every single turn of every single game. Like the power it provided was just the ultimate consistency. Your deck did exactly what you wanted every time, and Hearthstone should never go back to that.
That's understandable. Almost gave you an extra point there for Wizard Poker. You know what? You get an extra point for Wizard Poker. I like it. RonMexico. Gin and or Baku. I added the and or. I did honestly. I didn't even think about separating them and moving one of them to the core set. Ron, what are your thoughts?
All right, because it's and/or, and because I love going face, me go face. All right, they're gonna do it, and you know why? The main reason why they're gonna do it because they love playing with fire. All right, they're nuts over there at Blizzard HQ. Okay, they're gonna be like, it's fine. No, we're gonna fix it this time. It won't. It won't be fixed. It won't be better, but they're going to try. They are going to try to do it, and it's going to be a disaster. People are going to be up in arms, and then they'll nerf them right back or nuke them from orbit, and just send them to wild mode where you can only play even and odd decks or something. All right. But at one point, and maybe they also say, you know what? Gen wasn't so bad, right? Baku was the one that was the problem. So, hey, maybe we could bring Gen in. That'd be okay. We can have cheaper hero powers. There's already a cheaper hero power in Demon Hunter. That's probably fine. Look at the deck building restriction. Baku, I don't know, that's a little crazy. Maybe we shouldn't do that. But, either or, maybe they just completely play with fire and they both come back and they're like, oh god, we screwed up again. Or maybe they bring back the one that was okay. Either way, I think it'll happen.
Okay. Can't tell if you actually think it'll happen or if you're just going face to go face. MartyB.
Yeah, I got a trade here. So the devs were actually talking a while back about the craziest deck that they didn't nerf. And you know what that was? Even Paladin. So Even Paladin was the #1 deck for like 3 months, I think they said. And they were like, well, this is like nerf like it had a target on its back. They're like ready to nerf this. And then they look at the play rate and it's like nothing. Nobody was playing it, but the win rate was insane. So again, even though it seems weaker because it doesn't really see play in Wild right now, it is very much a dangerous card. And that consistency will make it dominate the entire standard year. So bringing a card like that is just not doable. As for odd decks, we see odd decks all the time in Wild still. I play Odd Paladin a lot. I am the self-proclaimed Odd Paladin bot, actually, recently. Well, no. There's someone else. But point is, Baku is still insane in Wild, and there is no way anyone will want that stuff in Standard. There's so many other ways to shake up the metagame with a rotating core set, and Gen and Baku are at such a high power level that they'll force people to pretty much only play those, similar to how Blizzard recently had this problem with Highliner Hunter, where they tried a bunch of different Hunter archetypes, but they all ended up going in Highliner Hunter anyway. All the cards. And I don't think they want to do that again. So I have to trade.
All right. I mean, I heard Highlander Hunter was the #1 legend deck at the moment. Am I wrong, Ron?
No. 100% correct.
Okay, yeah, that's what I read on Twitter.
Mix Highlander Hunter.
I mean,
Look it
I
up.
saw a Hearthstone top decks tweet.
Yeah, we did see that. So like,
legend Highlander.
So like, this is a problem.
17-0.
Yeah, it is a problem. So you can't bring decks that just are going to absorb all the other cards and hit rank 1 legend with a 17-0 record.
Yeah.
Just I can't see them doing it.
Yep. Yeah, I just in time in chat, I would love to see some more start of game effects. I think those are really fun and interesting. But
yeah, bring back Prince Malchazar.
There you go. I just want to play Odd Warrior in Standard again. Anyways, let's actually bring back Battlegrounds, but a little bit more of BlizzCon Battlegrounds. We're gonna mix it up a little bit, and we'll even start with a base here. We'll let base get the good old first go at this BG's question. So, BG's related, I should say. BG's was announced a year ago at BlizzCon. Am I correct? Was it BlizzCon last year when it was announced, or was it?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, base, we're getting a new game mode, and as our resident Battlegrounds expert, I'll let you answer the question of: do you think that the new game mode will bring Battlegrounds level popularity and success?
Absolutely not. So I'm gonna trade. Like the auto battler format is just so well received, and everyone had to copy it. So that is where Hearthstone success is. It's likely going to be something like Classic or Duels, where it's going to be super hyped and people are going to play it a bunch, and then it'll fall off. People always return to it. Some people might be mains, but I would expect it to be possibly an in-between Wild and Standard. What do they call it? Modern and Magic, something like that, or another limited format. I'm not sure how they would go about it. I'd like to see a cube format that you could play friendlies with. I think that would be very exciting.
All right, Donde. We did get a little bit of leak information about this, which is where I'm trying to get at here. Donde, what are your thoughts?
So Battlegrounds, first of all, beta, by the way, still somehow.
Beta, by the way, yes.
It's definitely successful beyond probably what anybody could have imagined it would be, and that's cool. Like I'm not the biggest Battlegrounds lover, but I think more diversity in Hearthstone is great, and it should bring more and more people to the fold. So will they strike fire like they did with Battlegrounds? I'm going to trade and say probably not, because it's, I think, like a once in a blue moon type of thing. If they do, that's phenomenal. But let's go ahead and say the only thing that I think could probably rival its popularity and success would be tournament mode, which they've already pretty much said is not happening. They've tried it, they've not been able to do it. Maybe they finally figured it out and they've been keeping it so tight-lipped. I don't know. But I think that's the type of thing that would really get the community going. An in-game tournament mode, I think, is still really, really high at the top of the list as far as the most desirable type of thing for the change in the client. But other than that, yeah, duels is whatever. I really don't hear anybody talk about it that much anymore. It really burned out really quickly. So I think we'll probably find something in between. I don't think we'll find something that's like going to burn out the first month like duels did, but I don't think we'll find a Battlegrounds level successor or anything of that nature.
Yeah. To clarify what I meant by leaked, it wasn't necessarily a leak, but we did have a developer say on Twitter that the new game mode had possibly their favorite art that they've seen in Hearthstone to date. So we do know that it does include new art. So it's not going to be using just previously released cards. Ron, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't think anyone's going face on this one, and it makes me sad because I got a trade here too. Battlegrounds was already kind of preloaded for so much success. And there's just not a chance that the new game mode is going to have anywhere close to the level of Battlegrounds. Like, Hearthstone was already losing popular Hearthstone streamers because they were streaming auto battlers instead of playing Hearthstone. People just really wanted to play an auto battler type game, and the market was so primed for it. Hearthstone came in at almost the perfect time and caught fire because they did it well enough, I think, that they drew in some interest and it blew up. This new game mode, whatever it's going to be, hey, that's great that we got some cool art. I don't know, maybe it's like did you ever play one of those Pokemon games where you just like take pictures of Pokemon Snap?
Well,
right?
to clarify,
Maybe that's it.
They said cutest art.
Okay, so it's Snap, right? They just take like all the cutest like Hearthstone cards, and you just have to like take pictures of them in the wild. It's like this wild, completely different game mode. But no, look, I don't know what it's gonna be. This is great that there's some new art, and there's just not a chance it touches Battlegrounds popularity. I am excited about it. I hope that it's gonna be better than Duels. Duels is kind of just meh. It's like the worst parts of Arena and Run put together. Where it's just like I'm so bored playing duels. So hopefully it's a step above that, but I don't think it hits Battlegrounds.
All right, MartyB.
You to start, you say. Do I hear a Candy Crush
Ooh.
version of Hearthstone?
Ooh.
Yeah, we're gonna bring all the boomers and middle-aged soccer moms into Hearthstone now. But really, I have to trade.
Missing.
Yeah, that is exactly what they're missing. They're hitting that
Gotta get that market.
that untapped market. Yeah. But yeah, I have to trade here. Auto battlers are their own thing, and Hearthstone entered at just the right time, like Ron said. And as we've seen, if you want to hit the ground running and really have a successful thing, you have to get in at just the right time when something is getting really popular. Hearthstone lucked out because auto battlers as a genre were kind of exploding at the time when Battlegrounds came out. So it brought a ton of new people in, and it's going to take an entirely new genre of game, basically, I think, to come close to Battlegrounds level success. What genre that would be, I don't know. Right now, I feel like the big kind of thing is kind of a combination between roguelikes and whatever you want to call Escape from Tarkov. And both of those don't really fit the Hearthstone world in the sense of mechanics, since we have dungeon runs already. And there's really no way to translate Tarkov into card games. So I don't think it's going to be as successful. What I do think is it's going to be some sort of mode that we've seen in other card games before. And I think the cute art is kind of hinting at that, saying we're going to have things that are, something that will it'll hook new players in, basically, from those other games as well, and provide something that's a little bit more user friendly. I don't think it'll be as successful, but I think it'll still be better than Duels.
So we're
Donde,
getting,
I love your
we're getting
cat, by the way.
Hearthstone Go.
Yes.
Yes, like Pokemon Go.
Yes. Hearthstone, go to the polls.
Oh, amazing.
All right, final question, face or trade. Donde, you're in last place. Do you want to go first or last with this last question?
Let's just get it over with.
All right, Donde going first here. We have one card returning to the core sets from the Hall of Fame that we know for sure in the upcoming core set for this next year, the year of the whatever we're gonna call it. And that card is Shadow Form for Priest. So Donde, starting with you, and then we'll go Base, Ron, MartyB. Shadow Form Priest will see viability next expansion.
It's impossible to decide this based on only one card because it's trade. It's never been viable. The only thing that Shadow Form Priest, quote unquote Shadow Form, was like Raza, like Machine Gun Priest was viable because of Raza. Shadow Form on its own doesn't do enough to be viable, and there has not even been anything from Priest that has even remotely whiffed an aggressive archetype in the last year. It feels like so. Inner Fire Priest, Combo Priest was basically it. It got nerfed or Hall of Famed, I should say. Then the class got reworked. There's just nothing there, unfortunately, by itself. But I mean, maybe there are other cards that will also support Shadow Form and also be aggressive and give Priest an actual reason to play it. So it's possible, but from what we've seen historically in their design philosophy around Priest, it just does not include any sort of aggressive game plan for Priest, unfortunately. So I will say trade, but Raza for core set 2021.
Raza for core set. Okay. Base.
I'm going to go face here. First off, please do not put Raza in standard. Probably hurt that nerf as well. They're going to force this archetype. And the first thing you do to force this archetype is to print its own cage match custodian. Just a minion that is like above rate that tutors out Shadow Form is the first thing they have to do if they want to make this archetype. And that's easily what they can just do. And then probably drop the cost a little bit. I think they're going to force this down our throat. People have loved this archetype since it was made, and it's just going to be pushed and pushed until it's real.
I would love to see it pushed. Ron, do you think we will see it pushed / viable?
Oh, hell yeah, I'm going face on this one. All right. Look, I don't like Priest, but this will get me to play Priest, okay? You gotta give the people what they want. People want Shadow Form Priest, and Blizzard knows that the people are going to be really excited and happy if this is an archetype that's actually viable. So I agree with Base, they're going to push it. They're going to start printing some support cards that make it work. Priest already can do a whole lot of random crazy generation stuff that just helps it survive and, figure out ways to win in games where it doesn't have really any business winning. Now you can just at the very least, right? Instead of no longer having a win con, you can just play Shadow Form towards the end of the game when you've ground your opponent out and removed their 20th board or something, and you're like, okay, now I'm gonna go face. I think this will actually happen. It'll get cards that support it, and it's going to be something where you can start sending face damage with your hero power as a priest, and everybody's going to be kind of excited. Like, I will actually play Shadowform Priest, and if me, a longtime Priest hater, is excited about the prospect of Shadowform Priest being playable, I think Blizzard will try to go and push that archetype forward.
RDB, take us home.
Yeah, I gotta go face here too. So, think about Shadow Form. They realize that people like it. They're bringing it back, and I actually expect them to change the card to make it viable. Not just support, but actually change the card itself. Okay, and change the card. They're going to make it powerful. They want this to work. They want people to have fun with it. I don't know how they're going to change it yet. There's a few different options there, but I can't see a world where this doesn't see play at some point in the next year. People like their Shadow Form Priest. Blizzard employees like the Shadow Form Priest. Okay. We see it with how much they loved Raza when it was in Standard, especially with Anduin. They just really like the machine gun, and they want that again. They're going to want that kind of gameplay once more, where Priest is more board-oriented, but still has damage to pressure. Okay, it's something that is unique to Priest. It's very unique just in general. The idea. It's almost like its own hero card. So they're going to want to make this work, and it will happen. Even if they have to force it, it'll happen. I guarantee by the mini set, like anyone can take me up on this. I guarantee by the mini set, we will see Shadow Form in some form.
Maybe
Some shadow form?
Yes, some Shadow Form.
All right. With that, we are going to move on to our final round, or duel round. We're going to say goodbye to our two board members here, Mr. Donde and Miss basedinc. So anything you two want to say before I put you on mute?
I failed you, Tuna.
Oh,
I only realistically carve out about 60 minutes of my night for the show because I know that I'm never making it to the finals. So this is just really on brand for me.
You'll make it one of these days, bud. One of these days.
Not so sure.
Hey,
I'm trading on that actually.
Brushy was on like 3 or 4 times and he didn't make it, and then he won. You know, you gotta hold out hope, right? Hold out hope.
I got a 100% make it to the finals rate and a 25% win the finals rate.
Oof. All right, let's say goodbye to Base and Donde, and they'll be back at the very, very end. But we have 4 more questions to throw at you, including one that Diamond would not shut up about. So let's start off with that one. So, dual rounds, we are left with just Marty and Ron. I'm going to reset their counts here to 0. Let me get those to 0, and we're starting fresh. As always, one of you will start, the other one will go second, and then with the following question, we will swap. So we will start with Marty because he was in the lead, and then Ron will respond, and then with the second question, Ron will start and Marty will respond, and so forth. We have 4 questions, each THL related. Legacy, Hero, Wild, and then Pro in that order. And we're going to start with Legacy. And speaking of Diamonds, let's talk about his team in the Foolish Madmen. So, Marty, my question for you, starting up the top here. It's playoffs time. Who takes down the Foolish Madmen? Undefeated teams do not have a great record in THL playoffs.
I'm going to put it right here so everyone hears it. It's going to be us. F2 all red.
Okay.
I believe. Okay. The whole point at the beginning of the season, we saw there were going to be 20 plus teams. And we decided we are not going to put a legacy team together unless we are sure that we're going to be playoff contenders. And we did exactly that. I think some people are sleeping on us a little bit, but we're going to come through. People are settling into their groove. We're really going to come in. And like you said, going undefeated into the playoffs, there's a definite curse there. And look at that. We are not undefeated, so we can still win.
That's true. The undefeated curse lives on. Well, so far, I should say. Ron.
All right. Curses aren't real. F2L : Viridian : Standard : Red is not going to be the team that takes down Foolish Madmen, all right? Because nobody is taking down Foolish Madmen. Have you looked at this team? This is different from your standard undefeated team making it into the playoffs and all of a sudden they're just going to derail. Like Dardar Binks, 10-0 in Hero last season. Dardar Binks is 3-2. He is the worst performing player on that team, tied with Diamond in the 5 seed. Justin at 7-0, Automated Button at 6-1, Jimbo at 6-1. These players, I think they found a way to game the system, the PR system, and kind of like get way stronger players in their team than should reasonably be allowed, because they're like they're TESPA players that didn't play a whole lot of standard or something, so didn't have high finishes and came in with lower PRs than what their real skill levels are. This team is insane. It's blazing through the playoffs like they blazed through the regular season. They're taking home the title.
Alrighty. Oh, I didn't give you that point. Let's move on to Hero. So we're going from Legacy to Hero 2, and let's talk about the Teal Conference. So Teal is very close in Hero at the moment, with not a lot of points separating first and fourth. So my question to Ron to start here is, who is going to make it in the playoffs from the Teal Conference?
Ooh, this is Teal looks super interesting. It's kind of just jam packed. I can tell you the transfer students is not making it, for starters. Lemur was on Hearth Center bragging about how they were just going to go on a tear and start winning every week. Well, they lost last week and they're pretty much out. I think Dab on him makes it. I think No Pros here does not make it. I don't think they had enough points before their bye in the final week. And then it comes down to Ask HS or F2L Black. I don't think both of these teams make it. I think Orange is too strong, but I think F2L Black has enough and a good enough of a team that they're going to be the ones that come out from Teal along with Dab on him. Dab on him's going to put up good points and be the number 1 team in the conference. I think F2L is going to wind up being the number 2 team. And then I think No Pros here, sitting at 109 won't be enough. Ask HS, they won't get enough against F2L Black, who is in we gotta win now to make playoffs mode. So they're going to beat up on Ask HS, and we're going to see 2 orange teams make it from the at-large. Or no, wait, that can't happen, actually. No, it's going to have to be between Tonk and Servants. Not Tonk. Servants and Agua. Because Tonk and ATL are already in from Orange. So Servants and Agua are going to duke it out, and I think Servants makes it. And I think F2L makes it from Teal, along with all the top 2 teams, mainly being, Dab on him and... wait, I think I screwed that up somewhere. Yeah, F2L gets the 2nd spot in Teal. So there won't be a Teal at-large. The at-large will be 2 oranges. Okay. That was what I was thinking, that I thought it couldn't work. Yeah. It's going to be 2 teams from Orange. Agua and Servants both get to make it, along with ATL and Tonk. You have your 2 in purple. You have your 2 in teal that are going to be Dab on them and F2L. Ask HS and No Pros here and transfer students all get crowded out.
Alrighty, Marty.
All right, so Ron, I gotta agree with a lot of that there, but there's like a few discrepancies I'm not so sure about. No Pros here at 109 points. I remember, I think it was Trito, someone in the THL Discord went through and looked at how the winning and losing teams do. And the losing team gets about an average of 9 points. Okay, this is held pretty steady over several seasons throughout Hero. And so I believe that there's only going to be one wild card from the Orange Conference, with No Pros here getting the other one. Obviously, I'm a bit biased because I am on Servants of Yogg Soren, so I have to vote for us to make it through, especially since we're going to be playing against the last place team in Dark Side of Cthulhu. Nothing against them, but an 0-6-1 record does not really help them too much. Sorry, Donde. But yeah, Donde's muted, so it's fine.
It's fine. We can say what we want about him.
Exactly. So with that in mind, I do think we are going to see one wild card from Teal Conference. I also think F2L Black will beat Ask HS, and Ask HS will be left out. And then, oh, sorry, yeah. And I think I think we're going to see Dab on them in first, F2L in second. No pros here, barely sneaking in over Ask HS. Okay, that is my bold prediction. And then finally, for the other wild card, it'll be Servants of Yogg Sorin, with the top two teams already set in Orange Conference and Purple Conference. Tanpam's good friends with them, but I don't think they're going to make it. They're just going to miss the cut as well. So we will have to see.
Alrighty. So let's move on to Wilds. We actually had someone pop in and say, "Did I miss Wild yet?" No, you did not miss it. We're talking Wild right now. So Wild, at the very beginning when we first started the Wild series, there was a lot of hype, and there was there's an influx of participation from players and captains for the Wild series format. Recently, over the past couple of seasons, we've started to see a lessened amount of Wild's teams. And it's sort of felt like the interest in Wild has slowly started to decrease over time. Not very quickly, but it is a very slow pace. Thank you, Ron. I'm glad that you caught on there. So my question for the two of you, and we're starting with Marty this time. Will Wild Series go the route of Hero, or will we see it slowly die off?
There's no way it dies off. I know several people who are still continually getting interested in the Wild series and do want to join. There's so many people still in the Wild community that don't know about THL. And it's going to take a while for there to be a full transition, because I know a lot of these people and they are looking for this. They just haven't really settled on THL yet. Right now, there's also the Wild Summit going on, and that's become incredibly popular among Wild players. It's pretty much the most competitive Wild tournament there is going on right now that isn't sponsored by Blizzard, because it doesn't exist for some reason, and GMs kind of hate it. But I think the issue with Wild right now is that, given the time of year, not as many people can play. I know for a fact that there were several players, including one on my former team, that had to drop because of outside commitments. And that does have an effect on who can play Wild. And so we're probably going to see an influx of some of those players come back as well. And I think there's going to be a kind of a cycle where we see more teams one season and then fewer teams the next. We didn't actually really shrink that much. I think we only went down 5 players in total. It was only one team. So we went from 15 captains to 14. 15 captains for a series is already a lot. So to say that it's going to go away, I think it's very premature. It's still very successful. And I think it's going to grow, actually. Speaking of which, Donde and I have spoken about things, and we're to see more Wild content. A lot of Wild players have been asking for content specific to Wild in THL. I'm sure that we're also going to be seeing that with Battlegrounds 2 once Battlegrounds comes back. And so all this integration and just the maturing of the league-based format series will help in making this very successful for a long time.
Point for correct name of league format series. RonMexico, what are your thoughts?
I was actually going to touch on the fact that Wild content is changing as well. So very nicely said, Marty. I think that it will absolutely go the route of Hero. We saw ebbs and flows in Hero. Hero actually a point in time where there weren't even conferences because it died down a little bit in interest in players that were playing. But we've got a really passionate community in Wild that has been frozen out from Blizzard for quite a while, because there's never been an actual competitive tournament based outlet for players who enjoy playing Wild, and THL provides that, and that's something a little bit more unique to Wild players that they can't find elsewhere. So for that reason, I think we might see a little bit of a decrease in a season or two, but it's always going to stay with like a good amount of interest from players who are passionate. And I mean, we've got our own THL secret weapon here, because how could Wild Series ever possibly die out when we have the one and only NHL NJ Fan 1, MartyB himself, taking part in THL, participating in wild content, drawing in those people and getting that interest. There's no way this is going to be a series that dies out. It's too varied. It's too interesting. There's so many crazy things you can do in Wild. Like it appeals to the tryhards and the memers at the same time. You don't have to try really hard to win a Wild series. You could just jam DK Rexar and make zombies. That's all I ever want from Wild. So, I mean, I might play Wild again literally just for that. I think it's going to hang around.
This was our form of an army recruiting tool. This was me getting you to play Wild. All right.
Nice.
Final THL question here. And depending on what our points end up, we may have to go to our tiebreaker question. So we'll see how this goes. Let's go to Pro. So we have a matchup coming up this week in Pro. I should have wrote it down. I forget if this is pink conference or black conference, so I apologize. But we have attack mode versus F2L. So my question for Ron to start is, will we see attack mode upset F2L this week in Pro? And it's the pink conference. Thank you, chat.
It is. Yep, it is pink. And I think so. I think it's happening. Attack mode is a very good team that has slightly underperformed so far this season. But if you look closely, this team, I think, is the only loss, or not anymore. Popeyes did lose twice, but they were one of the two losses for Popeyes Spicy Chicken Sandwich, who's up at the very top, and they got a big win over Popeyes. They have Flame Killer, who currently tops, I think, the number one spot in player power ranking for Pro in the 1 seed. That is a monster of a player who's sitting at 7-0. Brian O'Brien is 6-1 in the 2 and is an extremely strong player. All they have to do is get a victory from the bottom 3 seeds in most of their games, because these two have been so dominant. Valera Light, Necra, and Smork, and these are solid players that have just had a little bit of a disappointing season so far. I think this is something that can easily be turned around for them. They know that they're in crunch mode. They've got to pick up points fast to compete for playoffs. And I think that motivation is going to be enough facing off against an F2L team that is solid, but not the same terror as F2L teams of the past that were, winning 2 pro championships and making it to another pro championship. I don't think this is going to be a championship type season for F2L. I think their roster's weakened enough to the point that the up and comer in attack mode is going to go in, and not only are they going to get this upset, but they're probably going to keep winning on their way to playoffs and a solid playoff run as well. I got a lot of faith in attack mode.
Alrighty, MartyB.
All right, so this is cheating because I do have a little insight with the F2L guys. I help them a lot.
Okay.
And we look at a lot of different things. We look at different archetypes. I have a bunch of stats on that. What people bring, all that. But what's most important, though, last time I was here, we were actually talking about F2L. That was one of the questions about whether they would come back. They were 1-2, and there was a lot of doubt surrounding this team. Do you know how they've done since that week? They're 5-0. Okay, they are 5-0. This team is, they got everything back together. Okay, they're back on pace, and I think we can really focus on one player that really turned it around. And that's Chi Magician. Okay, Chi Magician, he actually just qualified for Masters Tour with a Highliner Druid in his lineup. Very interesting. I highly suggest you check it out. But he has been the difference maker for this team. Now that he's in his groove and he's really settled in with the Pro Series itself, there's nothing stopping this team. Like, he is their trump card. He will come in, he will get a win, just quietly, silently, report his results in his Discord channel. Guys, I won like 3-1. And we're like, all right, great, submit it. And that'll be it because he barely speaks any English and it's wonderful. But the rest of this team, I know Ron thinks that they're not as strong, but they are definitely sleeper. Berserk also just barely missing GM. Okay. No one really gives him that much credit for it, but he was almost a GM. Okay. That is insane pedigree. Ariana was top 10, I don't know, it's just even a month ago. Okay. Ariana knows how to play. She is an excellent player. And Rescue at 6-1, you can't sleep on him. I can't see attack mode getting past these guys. They just have too much going for them. And I know with the way they prep, especially with last week, with how they beat Popeye's Spicy Chicken Sandwich, I helped them prep a lot with that. And that was no fluke at all. Okay, we knew what we were doing, how we were going to counter them. And it worked out exactly how we planned. And they're just going to do the same thing this week against attack mode. So I'd watch out. F2L is definitely not going to be upset. And yeah, they're going to gun for a championship.
Okay. Well, this leaves me with having to throw out our tiebreaker question. So, I'm not going to be awarding points for this tiebreaker question. Basically, how this is going to work, and I had to think of this on the fly, but I'm actually kind of excited because I think it's kind of fun. So, I'm going to give the both of you some thinking time, approximately 1 minute of thinking time. And then I'm going to have both of you. Oops, sorry, I haven't put it into the stream here yet, so it's not on the stream yet. I'm gonna have both of you build me. Doesn't have to be all 30 cards, but the general archetype and idea is enough to suffice. I'm gonna have both of you build me a broken deck where all standard cards are neutral. So you can pick any class, any card in standard, and I want you to build me a broken deck, and let's see what you come up with. I'm going to give you about 1 minute here to think, and then you're going to have a minute to tell me what your broken standard all neutral card deck is.
Oh wow.
Hold on, I'm going to need
Show-
30 seconds to even boot up Hearthstone. Oh, man.
Show match after. I don't think we can show match after because it's not possible. You can't play that brawl in Mage. I got 30 seconds left.
Oh, man, I just booted up Hearthstone. Don't do this to me.
20 seconds.
All right. It's fine.
15. 12. 7. Okay, we're going to start with Ron here.
It's exclusively neutral, right?
All cards are neutral, so you can pick any card in standard, period.
Yep.
All right, Ron,
So
build me a deck.
we
have 1
run
minute.
Zephyrus.
Okay,
We run Dragon Queen Alexstrasza.
okay.
We start going in with cheap early game minions. Basically all the things that Highlander Hunter runs that are neutral. You know, we're running the Battle Mage. We're not running Intrepid Initiate though, because we don't have any spells. We're running a Beaming Sidekick. We are gonna put in. I mean, do I have to actually go all 30 here? We'll throw a broom in there.
You don't have to go all 30, but you misunderstood the question, so you are kind of screwing yourself. Keep going.
Oh, what? I don't get it.
I said all standard cards are neutral. That means Mage, Warrior, Warlock, Druid, they're all neutral cards now. You can pick literally any card.
Oh,
Oh,
wait, we can
correct.
class cards? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, sure. Then
Good
the
thing you're
most
not out
broken.
of time. MartyB.
Oh my god. All right.
All right.
Sure.
Right,
Sure.
so-
Fine.
So
Thanks
you
for
take
letting me go
Mage,
first.
sorry, you take Warlock. Warlock has the strongest hero power, right? And so you stick a bunch of healing in there. Okay, so let's give it Ankar, Risky Scaper package, all that good stuff, right? And then finally, for the late game, we give it Cloak of Shadows. Okay, and Vargoth and Mask of Cthulhu and Potion of Illusion. Okay, so the goal is you draw through your whole deck, you stealth up, okay, when just to stall, and then with all your armor and stall, you're able to drop Vargoth, play Potion of Illusion, and then kill your opponent with a bunch of Mask of Cthulhu's.
Are you an OTK player or something? Because your
I'm
mind just
not.
went straight to OTK deck.
I mean, the thing is, when you have all cards, it's
Yeah.
going to go hyper combo. And right now, that is all the stall and a massive combo that will just do a ton of damage. And you have the Warlock Hero Power to just draw all you want.
See, Donde had my line of thinking. I would have taken all of the control tools from the classes that I possibly could and thrown in an Elucia for those combo decks and just had as many 30-minute matches as I possibly could.
Lucia.
Okay. Now I get the question,
You want
and
to
I would
redo
like
it,
to change
Ron?
my answer
I will
to.
let you do
Oh,
this.
I'd like to change my
I don't know
answer to
about
Mick
this.
Hunter. Final answer, Mick Highlander Hunter.
Nothing beats Mick Hunter.
It's
Literally
Oh,
nothing
man.
beats all
Oh,
cards
man.
standard neutral. Doesn't matter. Mick Hunter
Are
OP.
you putting Elucia in this Mick Hunter?
I
for those
almost have
combo
to
decks?
concede.
No, because it's a perfect 30.
It's
Literally
already a
can't-
perfect 30.
It's okay. I run a Lucia, so I can steal Ron's deck.
There you go. That's how you do it. You bring the control tools and you steal the Mick Hunter from your opponent. I like
Look,
it.
Elucia only takes one turn away from Mick Hunter. Mick Hunter has all the rest of the turns to beat you. You still lose. Cool Elucia, but you're still dead.
Well, I've stalled the whole game, so what I do is I combo you with Mick Hunter, and I just win the game on the spot. I
Yeah.
waste all your resources, and you can't kill me.
No.
Oh man.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna give it to MartyB because he actually understood the question. There's a.
Yeah, I'm staying on brand. I always lose in the finals.
Yep. That's how it goes. I get the hell off my table. Okay. Anyways, so with that, Marty is the winner. I locked this cat out of the office, and it's made its way in here somehow. Congrats, Marty. You have the you have lethal. Take your time to you got about 30 seconds here. So go ahead, talk to the chat.
So I know you mentioned this before, but I'm gonna take a shot at Donde. Donde,
Please.
I'm really sorry about this week, and best of luck. Swimming in tears because you're gonna lose. But with that being said, yeah, it's really nice to be back. Really glad that I was able to get this far this week for once. I think it has to do with using a desk, so it's really nice, and really looking forward to next week now. Ron, GG's. You'll get it next time.
Just gotta understand the question next time.
Probably not, but I might be in finals next time.
Because to
We'll
be
see.
fair, I did say all standard cards are neutral, not only using neutral standard cards, but that's fine.
I even sorted by neutral in the Hearthstone
I
deck
could
builder.
tell as you
was a
started
good time.
started reading. I was like,
If
wow,
I'm being
you're just
honest-
doing initiate and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, what?
If I'm being honest, I was gonna do the same thing as Ron
Yeah.
had I gone
Nice.
first.
Nice.
I had an aggro demon
Thanks,
hunter
Mako.
of all rituals built up.
Oh,
I was just gonna copy and paste that.
smooth.
So
Alrighty.
In
Let's...
fairness, if I had actually read the thing that you put on the screen, I probably would have got it. But I was only listening to you, and I totally didn't follow.
That's where you messed up. All right, everyone is unmuted. Welcome back. Welcome back to the show.
Thank
Yay.
you.
How you feeling over there, Donde?
I mean, I've been slandered now and on mute for a half hour, so it is what it is. But at least I didn't get kicked out of my country, so there's that.
Were you really on
Oh
mute?
my
Because
country.
you were kind of all up in the chat.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, but it's not the same. I mean,
hold on. Let me be clear. I wasn't actually kicked out. I can stay with a fine. I can pay to stay. I just didn't want to pay the amount that it would cost. There's a fine line.
yeah,
Marty free to play confirmed.
free. I will say, yes, the stats do indicate that Dark Side of Cthulhu is not, probably going to win this week, and that's okay. But let me tell you, whatever we call ourselves next season is going to be, we're going to be bringing the heat. It's going to be like you've never seen before. So get ready. Your days are numbered to the rest of Hero series. It's coming. It's coming.
So,
But
so the not so dark side of Cthulhu, where they get 1 win in a season instead of 0.
we are a former Hero champion, and we would like to return to that. So, be careful what you say. Careful what you wish for. Yes, no sleep till playoff space is correct. But on a more positive note, I do like that you shouted out. Both of you shouted out the wild content changes. And I just want to say that if you have thoughts on content, we're listening. Please let me know. Don't be afraid to say, I think we could do better in this. I like this. I don't like that. We want to hear it. So this wouldn't have happened if we didn't hear people having criticisms. And we want to hear that type of stuff. So please do not be afraid to let us know when you don't like something, or you think that there's a way that we could do it better, because we would love to do it better. We can always be better.
Yeah. On top of that, captain applications were sent out a few weeks ago. If you're interested in captaining, please fill it out. We are currently at, I think, 14 Battlegrounds captains. Unless we hit 16, we're going to have to cut 2 captains, because we have to be in intervals of 4. So if you are interested in captaining Battlegrounds, you need to fill that out ASAP, because when we hit 16 approved captains, then people after that are going to be cut off, because it has to be in intervals of 4 for the way we do BGs. So if you're thinking about it, you're on the fence, I would figure it out soon and get that application in.
We could possibly make it work with 15, but that would have buys, and
It would be a pain in the ass. We're cutting it at we should have 16. There's one superpower team that still hasn't filled out their application. Anyways, no buys, correct. Base, anything you want to say before we head out?
No, this is a ton of fun. I'm sorry, Tuna. When you watch this VOD, I really tried my hardest.
It's okay. I think he would forgive you. Let me get this crown on Marty's head over here. Alrighty. With that, we're gonna call the show. We will be back next week. This is how Tuna would end up anyway. Yeah, most likely. I think last time was a one-off situation. We will be back next week, and we will be talking a bunch of thoughts and reactions to the core set announcements, the specific cards that will be coming into it, possibly new expansion reactions. We'll have a lot of stuff to talk about next week, given the nature of BlizzCon being this weekend. So look forward to next week. I Blizz can't wait. This is why Donde has negative 12 points. Anyways, with that, we're going to sign off. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you in 1 week.
Bye.
Hold on, I gotta give Donde one more minus point because someone paid for it. Oh wait, and then you get the +1 from earlier, so you're back to -12. Now see ya.